Shalom. Call Haloimla, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David, beginning with the 144,000, and the rest of the men and women and children out of the 12 tribes, whom Yahweh Bashem Yahushai will ultimately have mercy upon, out of the 12 tribes. I'm your brother Matazabah, reporting from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Melbourne, Australia. And this is just a update to what's going on here in this country, Australia, that I'm currently residing in. And this is going to be a news and prophecy update pertaining to the MOTB. And this is from 7news.com.au. And basically, if you haven't been paying attention, either to myself or the brother Yashar reporting from this country here in Australia, we've signed what was known as the Digital ID Pack back in, I believe it was April or March of 2024, just last year. And since then, they are hoping to have everything run digital by December. Also, as well, there's going to be a change within social media apps to where they want the Australian citizens to now have to register via digital ID to say that you are who you claim you are when logging on to social media platforms. And they try to do it in a crafty way, essentially pretending like they are for the people by telling the parents, well, we're going to start this off because we notice a lot of these things that's going on social media has not been beneficial to teenagers who are 16 years and younger. And so we need to put the squeeze on these social media giants like, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, and whatever the case may be. And they need to be held responsible. So they need to put in some sort of measure along with this digital system we're rolling out. And they need to figure out a way on how to keep anybody that's 16 years and younger off of social media. All right. And this is how they're trying to spend it. So they're using a means to try to say, pretend like they're doing good, but really it's setting people up for the okie doke. Right. And so what you're going to see here is now to add more fuel to the fire, I guess. Now they're trying to limit the cash. And by them limiting the cash, they are causing a strike where, different unions of, the people, companies that actually go and stock up the cash and ATMs and stuff, they're now all going on strike. But we understand, according to prophecy, these things have to happen. OK, these things have to happen in order for us to get to the next stages, man. Because me personally, I want this shit to pop off. It's good seeing Esaww, Edom scramble and having dreads of fear, not knowing when he's going to get his next paycheck, when he's going to be able to go grocery shopping, this, that, and the third. Hell, Jake has been living on, day by day, week by week, man. And the scripture says in Deuteronomy that, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua will put all these curses on our enemies, man, if we turn ourselves back unto him, in so many words. But let me allow for this video to play so you can see what's going on.
.au. Australians could see a shortage of physical cash as cash-in-transit workers prepare to strike. The Transport Workers Union announcing they have endorsed a strike for Victorian and Tasmanian workers at Armaguard and Esaww, claiming declining safety standards and operating models have reached crisis levels in the industry. The strike is expected to cause major disruptions to cash deliveries, potentially affecting ATMs, banks and retail businesses' access to cash. For the full story, head to 7news.com.au.
Now, the key part of what he said was, let me play it again.
Australians could see a shortage of physical cash as cash-in-transit workers prepare to strike. The Transport Workers Union announcing they have endorsed a strike for Victorian and Tasmanian workers at Armaguard and Esaww, claiming declining safety standards and operating models have reached crisis levels in the industry. The strike
So it's due to safety standards and operation models, which they deemed as a crisis. Now, here it is. This is coming right on time with December 2025, which is Australia's end date to have everything to go digital. And since DVOC back in 2020, here in Australia particularly, when they forced certain stores and stuff to not take cash, but to take card payments, they were already setting the stage. So I find it very odd that Armaguard, when you look it up here, is doing this strike and limiting the process of cash. Because remember, this devil is cunning and crafty. There's never been any situation with Armaguard complaining about anything, but now all of a sudden it's based off of safety protocols and stuff that don't meet industry standards. That's very unheard of, especially when the deadline with them wanting to go full digital is coming up less than 2 months now, because we're already in the middle of October. You see where I'm going with this? And see, this is where we have to discern through the spirit of what's really going on. See, we, the servants, the prophets of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, we know what time it is, man. We know exactly what this devil is up to. Okay? And let me get a few precepts and we'll close out, because this ain't gonna take too long. Okay? But this is Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness, man. And see, those strikes is not going to stop what's coming. And see, the bankers, the ones who are controlling everything from behind closed doors, what a lot of you people don't understand is the fact that every nation around the world, they have their own scenarios on how they're going to introduce this digital currency that's set to come in. It's different in Babylon the Great as opposed to it's different in the United Kingdom. You see what's going on over there in China, but they're keeping that under the wraps. And I just done a video on the Swedish and how they're chipping everybody, but they've been doing it since 2022. So every country has its own little, how they're trying to implement things by using what's called gradualism. They're going to do things and pick at a little bit and change this a little bit and that until they get to their end goal. And their number one end goal is to what? Have everybody chipped. Right. So this is Sirach 12 and 10 again. Never trust thy enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness, man. All right. And we're going to go from there to the book of 2 Corinthians 2:11, which says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. All right. And when you look up that word devices in the Greek,
Strong's G 3540, Naima.
it says in the outline biblical usage, a mental perception, a thought, an evil purpose, that which thinks the mind, thoughts, or purposes. And this is an evil purpose because literally the whole purpose of this CBD system is pretty much to enslave you so they can have full control over your spending, what you spend, your carbon footprint, and everything. And they have total access to be able to turn it off whenever they want. And there's nothing that you can say or do. And oh, by the way, as Klaus Schwab said, you will not only own anything as well, but you will be happy. You see what I'm saying? This man is truly the wicked that the Bible speaks of, but he wants to be like the Most High. But see, the scripture says when we get Ezekiel, what's that, 28, if I'm not mistaken? All right. Let me see. Yeah. Now, this was speaking about the king of Tyre. All right. But see, we're in a time where we're comparing spiritual things with spiritualness. OK. And you can liken this through the spirit to the king of Babylon today. OK. Lucifer himself, which is Esau, Edom. This is Ezekiel 28:2. It says, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because thy heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am power. I sit in the seat of power in the midst of the seas. Yet thou art a man and not the Most High, though thou set thine heart as the heart of power. You see, and that's Esau, Edom. He's sitting in the seat of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, because remember, the scripture says, let's get in the Apocrypha real quick. Sirach 23, okay, and 19, it says, such a man only feareth the eyes of men, and knoweth not that the eyes of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men, and considering the most secret parts. Now, when you understand what's going on the left-hand side, Esau is trying to use that technology, that Industrial Revolution 4.0, where he's trying to merge human with machine. And we call that what today? Transhumanism. OK, here in Australia, they call it Big Brother is watching. He literally wants to be like the Most High. This is why he wants to insert a chip into you, so he can have total access to your entire everyday life on what it is that you do from a transactional standpoint, but also, because don't forget about that Neuralink. OK, that's why the scripture said, that's why John the Revelator saw, he said, whether it be taken in your hand or in your forehead, they want to have so much control over you that they even want to control your thoughts. They can be able to control your temperature, your body temperature, everything through radiation. So they literally want this power on the left-hand side, right? But see, the scripture says, when you get Psalms 144, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll start at verse 7. The point is at verse 8. It says, send thy hand from above, rid me, and deliver me out of the great waters, from the hand of strange children. That's strange. Who is the strange children today? The Edomites. You see? It says, whose mouth speaketh vanity, because they're lifted up in their pride, man. They say, like the scripture said, they say, who may bring us down? Esau is proud. Everything that they boasted in is all vanity at the end of the day. It says, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. You see? Pseudo. This is why the scripture, it talks about in 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, they're lying wonders. It's all falsehood, man. Don't trust in their science. Timothy told us that, did he not? Let's get that. In 1 Timothy 6:20, it says, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called, which some professing have erred concerning the faith. And how did they err? Because they don't understand the scriptures. They didn't rely on Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So they went astray, erring in their way, because they chose to trust in man and his technology rather than trusted in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And so a lot of you people, you're going to fall for the okie doke when this thing come to pass, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm saying here in Australia, this shit is dog. We not finna you know be caught up knowing what's going on, because remember their deadline here in Australia is December 2025. Matter of fact, let me fact check that. Let's go to Google if we can real quick. And if I type in, let me see here, digital ID. Yep. So this is one end of it. It says in December 2025, Australia will require age assurance measures for social media and search engines accounts for users under 16, with the onus on platforms to implement reasonable steps to verify age. It says the government is also progressing a national digital ID system. See that? You see how they just throw that in there? They are also progressing a national digital ID system, which is voluntary. To see that, see, this is Esaww. Come on, man. Voluntary, which is voluntary user control system for online identity verification that is different from the social media age verification requirement. You see how they just, oh, but also progressing a national digital ID system. Like I said earlier on, every country is going to spin it a different way. Now, what's interesting is, notice they say it's going to be voluntary, but we also know that the way this country is going downhill, because we are in a major recession and they're trying to keep that under the wraps. But man, so many people are selling their homes. They can't afford mortgages, payments. People is losing their jobs. This country is through. It's through. And so although they say it's voluntary at the moment, no, we know that this man is going to set up snares and traps to force people to where it's no longer going to be voluntary. It's going to be mandatory. Just like what the United Kingdom did. Remember, they allow for all of those so-called illegal immigrants to come into the nation, so much so that what did the prime minister state now? This digital ID will actually help for them to determine who are illegal workers, who's coming into the country doing the right thing versus the wrong thing. So you essentially, what you have is problem, reaction, solution. That's what this man does things. Order out of chaos. Right? We know this man schemes, man. Okay, so, let me get a couple of more if I can. Let me get that Psalms 37 and verse 7. It says, rest in Yahweh and wait patiently for him, and fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Yeah, he's going to bring this scheme to pass. This is why I said this thing is supposed to kick off in December this year, 2025, and this strike is happening in mid-October. It's not a coincidence. Now, what you're going to do when people see now the Australians, they're going to bug out, because now that the cash is not going out to these ATMs or whatnot, the banks, they're going to get a lot of drawback now. Watch how many banks of people are going to be lined up to take cash. And now it's also been said that a lot of banks, they're not giving up cash. So looks like we are just at the beginning stages of a little all-out civil war brewing here in Australia, the way that things are moving. We are in those times, man. Clearly in those times. But as the scripture says, all right, let's go back. I'm going to read it one more time. Psalms 37:7 says, rest in Yahweh and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Right? Because if you understand the scriptures, the scripture says that the wicked, shall not escape. He thinks that he's about to fill his belly when he establishes his enterprise, which is this new world order, accompanied with the micro C hip, but it's not going to happen. It's going to fail. All right. It's going to fail. So I'm going to leave it at there. You know, I pray this lesson was edifying, and I want to give all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David. Shalom.